Okay, welcome back to another episode of the Day After podcast.
What's up, guys? And today, so my voice was a little lost, but I think it kind of relates to it because my voice was shit. So was Jeff Probst. I don't know if
Yeah,
you noticed his
I
voice was kind
did.
of cracking a little. Um, Last episode was really good. Like I was
Yeah,
like, oh my, like this was like a fantastic episode.
yeah.
Like,
I would even say I think that this episode and episode two were probably the two best episodes of the new Survivor era. Honestly, like I'm loving the season so far.
oh yeah, sorry you just went, or I went.
Yeah,
So you have to see that.
yeah,
But
yeah.
no, like I remember just like everything. My favorite this may have been my favorite tribal council in
Hmm.
the because I'll admit the original Lulu tribe felt like a total drama tribe. And
Yeah.
tonight when she's just barbecuing the thing, which also I when that happened, I was like, why didn't you do that last time? Like,
Yeah. Well, apparently she tried. She didn't do it in the main one. She was trying to do it in like her torch that she had that she
oh yeah.
brings, or some of the smaller ones. But apparently that wasn't working, and they just didn't show any of that stuff.
Oh, okay, because I was
Um,
like, that was my first thought, but then she was like, "Oh, the actual tribe thing," and I'm like, "Oh, yeah, that makes sense."
yeah.
Um, but I
Yes.
know that's usually reserved for throwing away idols.
Exactly. Yeah, yeah. But apparently it was all good for this one. I also have an interesting kind of perspective now because I just started watching Survivor with some friends up here who are watching Survivor for the first time. Never had watched
Yeah,
Survivor before. I got them hooked onto Survivor through this season. I don't know if the previous four seasons I would have hooked them the
that's
way that they
that's
are
fair.
right now. Like they are super invested in this season. And literally like I showed them the first two episodes a few days ago, and then they were like, Wednesdays are now Survivor watch parties. Like they were just like, you're coming over every Wednesday so we can watch Survivor together.
Yeah, which I'm so happy for you. But like, no, I feel like this season has been really, really good so far. Which is nice because I know, like, well, I mean, some people were divided on the first episode. But like, I feel like everyone's like, yeah, 45 is like what we can. It's partially due to the runtime. I feel like we're getting content from mostly everyone.
Yeah, well, I
Uh,
think I think we shouldn't just give it to the runtime. I think the production side is giving is has a lot of great benefits right now. Tribal councils are so much more entertaining, and the reason
yeah,
why is they are not focusing on who's driving the car, who's
yeah,
stopping when they don't need to stop. Like they're not giving these terrible analogies. They're actually like focusing on like the
the
issues of
people.
the tribe. Yeah, the people like they're caring more about that drama instead of trying to figure out some terrible analogy for what
That
their
too.
situation is.
Now, I like a good simile or metaphor, but if that's every tribal council, it starts to blur together.
Yeah.
Um, and yeah, I feel like to like add on to what I was gonna say, part of that is that I think we have a stellar cast, and I feel like right now, I will say that some of the Beware advantages, we don't know. No one even has looked for it on the Blue Tribe yet, Baloo.
Hmm.
But like, I will say one is less balanced than the other between Lulu and Reba. I think Sabia kind of drew the short stick on Beware advantages and what she had to do for it. But
Yeah.
no, I
Uh,
feel like like even like twist how the Beware advantage work, and also
yeah.
once you get it, how there are different ways to activate it,
Yeah.
which also played a huge factor into this one. Like from a narrative aspect, like this
Yeah.
episode, how like, oh, okay, we're bringing up how Austin did it. So, or like when he looked at it, he was like, okay, I have to think about it. So like it was more so like there's more stakes, there's more pressure when we're going
Yeah.
into this tribal council, which I was like, this is why I think this is like the best episode so far. And maybe the
Yeah.
best of new school.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, I definitely have a theory that I think that Austin found his idol way earlier, but
Same.
they kind of spread it out so that way you're kind of slowly getting the information, so that way it kind of happens all here, so that way you know it, so that way when Sabia does go up in there, you immediately know what's going to happen when she opens that scroll. Like you already
Yeah,
know the rules, so you're not having to learn that information at tribal council.
yeah.
Because apparently also she didn't want to open it. She wanted to just pocket it and go back to camp, but the producers told her that she had to open it at the voting booth. Um, so so yeah, because if she didn't open it, she would have just not had an idol. Like she would have voted, and then if she went back to camp, it would have been inactive.
Oh
Um,
yeah,
so
that makes sense.
so they literally had to tell her like, "No, you have to open it because because it plays an impact in this tribal."
Yeah. That also makes me wonder. I'm not saying that Austin or whoever ends up on Blue and whoever
I think it's a
finds
Bello.
it.
I think it's Bello.
Oh yeah, I'm think sorry, Jungle Book.
Yeah.
It's what is it?
Bello.
Bello.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. All right, so for the Bello tribe, whoever finds it there, I mean, it's confirmed there will be a tribe swap, an official like, oh, tribes are being mixed up in the
Yep.
next episode, or whoever finds it there. But I was wondering with Austin's, if he doesn't get the chance to go to tribal council before all the tribes are on one beach, does that mean that he just straight up loses the idol?
I think what happens is then just a one tribal council idol because it does say that it's good for your next tribal council. So that's whenever his first tribal council is.
Okay.
So
Okay.
he's guaranteed at least one tribal council use out of it. But if he go,
Is not a bad one to have it on,
yeah,
TBH.
yeah, which but then that does create a interesting question though of if he does get there, is he allowed to sacrifice his votes? Because then, it, I mean, it's just until everyone's merged. But then will he then be allowed to do it again the next vote to get
Yeah.
a full idol? Like that is then the kind of tricky territory that we might enter.
Well, I mean, like, to be fair, this is the assumption if that happens. Like, we
Yeah.
don't know. Um, I hadn't had time to rewatch I wanted to see where all the chips lie. Um, because you see people in new buffs and stuff in the next time on Survivor. So I didn't look too much. Like I know that Jake and Bruce are on the Lulu tribe. Uh
Mhm.
but I didn't really see. I think I saw some of the red stayed on the same tribe, and like I just didn't have a chance to rewatch it yet.
Yeah, they do. I had that theory that people have been doing about Jake making Mergatory because he has no buff, but they apparently that is actually from the tribe swap. I guess he's just not wearing his buff on that confessional for some reason, unless they are still just like
Yeah,
showing us that confessional that's going to be at Mergatory, but it's
you never know.
yeah.
I think I know we're getting ahead of ourselves, but that's the thing too. Like I think another thing about why Sabaya's departure was so like also kind of nuts because like wasn't she like the one with the most confessionals?
Yeah, she had 23 confessionals, which is 5 more than anyone else on the season so far.
So like, and like even then she was like the leader in the first episode and the second one, right? Or was
Yeah.
she tied in the second?
She's been the front runner for all of it. Yeah.
Yeah, so she just kind of got Nedard Starked a little
Yeah.
bit.
Yeah. And okay, I also want to give myself a slight pat on the back here because I did say I think Sabaya was a good player who I think just drew a bad tribe. for her.
Yeah.
I said that at the beginning, and that's why I had her very low in my like rankings in terms of picking. And I just got to say, I don't think I exactly expected to turn out like this, like in terms of
No.
this tribe, but I did. I did technically get that correct in terms of in terms of her being one of the first three people gone.
I was so like flabbergasted when it actually happened because I'm like, they're not going to keep Caleb, right? Because they were also doing to kind of like circle back. So Lulu finally won a challenge.
Yeah,
It was a reward challenge because Murphy's Law, that's the one you only win. It's the one where it's only reward, not immunity.
yeah.
If you're on a losing streak. And so they were like, hey, camp raid, choose one person. And then Caleb, they were talking about his sales thing and stuff. And it was kind of reminded me of 43, with I believe her name was Justine, right?
Yeah.
And granted, there was no Cody there to be like, oh yeah, sales. Uh, but like, people are like, oh, that's kind of like his thing of like getting people to feel comfortable and stuff like that. So they're more likely to buy from them and stuff. And we even see that. And thing is, he was more upfront of it, or I'd say he wasn't as good as hiding it as some other people, or at
uh,
least they called him out, or like because he mentioned he was in like marketing and stuff. They were like, "Oh yeah, yeah, yeah. This is just how he is for his job, so he's using that."
uh,
Um, so part of me during that part, I'm like, so are they gonna get rid of Caleb? Because like that was kind of like where my head was, because I'm like, also the coverage that Sabia was getting, I was like, she seems pretty important because of the
yeah.
edit.
Yeah. See, I was so into I'm in right now still of the Emily Caleb duo. They always love to show the power duo,
Yeah,
two people who usually make a pretty deep run into a season. And it felt like they were really showing us so much Emily and Caleb in the last episode and this episode
yeah,
that I was pretty convinced that they're both probably making the merge. And I think they're both going to be major players for at least the a good chunk of it.
agreed. And I do believe your theory where I'm like, I think Emily has a pretty solid chance of making it to the end and possibly winning.
Yeah, which
Um,
is crazy. It's
from episode one, we all
yeah,
I even saw so the Facebook group I'm on, sometimes they can be quite opinionated. And someone did mention this. It was like, how did I go from hating Emily in the first episode to absolutely loving her 2 weeks later?
yeah.
And I'm like, because she learned her fucking lesson.
Yeah,
Uh,
yeah, and this is interesting watching it with new people too, is that they're not really wanting to go on to like the story of what Survivor's trying to say. They just don't like Emily, so they're like they really are like rooting against Emily right now, even though the story is now clearly trying to show you to like her. They had that first impression and they just are like, I don't want to see her in the show. Like I want her voted out now.
well, I mean, first impressions are important.
Yeah.
But I think, are your friends, are they like creatives or no?
No, no, they're not creatives.
I'm not saying that but because we are creatives, we do focus more on like the story arcs of people, even
Yeah.
if they're real people, a bit more. Not, I'm not putting down non-creative people or creatives. Creatives being like artists. That's the
Yeah, yeah.
kind of like new term we label for those who don't know at home. But like, it's something where because that's like our job and that's what we look at a lot, we notice a lot more intricacies or like
Yeah.
subtle things, even when it comes to reality TV.
Yeah. We
Um,
like the storytelling, whereas I think they're more like, who do I want to vibe with if I like was hanging out with them?
True.
And that's kind of that and I've noticed that is their very much their mindset. Like whenever they go to a tribal, they're not necessarily thinking like, okay, who's got the votes, who doesn't have votes, who's aligned with who. They're thinking like, I don't like this person, so that person should be the one going home.
Yeah. I mean,
Which is also, they have never seen
it's
Survivor, so
valid.
it's yeah.
It's valid. I mean, like, I think also because we do this, we're a bit more open-minded, and also
Yeah,
because I meet some of these people. I mean, not saying we need to get you down here for 45.
yeah,
Um, but like because I do go to these like little fan events that are in Los Angeles, like I know some of them now. Like Zach Wurtenberg follows me and sees my stories and stuff like that. It's crazy to think about, but
yeah.
you know, so it's like one of those things where it's like I will rub shoulders with some of these people, so I'm a bit more I see them more as just people as well.
Uh-huh.
So yeah, but to the average person, not so much, who isn't able to go to these events, or they're like, no, I just want to watch the show. But yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, but I mean, yeah, I definitely think I'm usually in the kind of super fan community. Like I
Yeah.
definitely am in that. So it's just been so weird and interesting, kind of seeing just the perspective
The
of someone
cash.
who
Yeah.
yeah hasn't doesn't really know any of this stuff, doesn't know any of the editing tricks. They're kind of just watching Survivor completely fresh, getting their opinions on what everything is like. And and I've been like explaining like during commercial breaks like what I think is going to happen because I know it can be a little confusing, especially with these lost votes and different the
Yeah.
idol stuff going on. Like, so I'm trying to give them like a lot of that stuff
A
to
little
it.
bit of guiding.
Yeah, and
I
usually when I explain like my thought process to why I think something is going to happen, they're usually like, "Yeah, okay, that does make sense, but I still want to see Emily go home."
Yeah. Uh, to kind of like go off of what you were saying. So another thing that
Mhm,
Caleb was able to do was when he got to the boat, when he was about to do the raid on Reba,
mhm,
uh, it's just a badass name, raid on
yeah.
Reba. Uh, actually, it might be problematic then. Anyway, uh, sorry. Uh, gotta be careful sometimes what I say. But he got an advantage and a really good
Mm,
advantage this day. Like I'm like
yeah,
like whoever thought that up in the room, like hats off to you because of
yeah,
how prominent it is in this game. The
yeah,
one where you can restore a lost boat.
yeah.
Now, I am wondering if that works for a sacrificing um a vote still counts as that, or is it like, oh, in the case of like with these idols, it's like, oh, okay, I sacrificed my vote, but can I still use that advantage? I'm sure producers would
Y
like clear that up right
Yeah,
there.
that definitely is because Drew said in the confessional that this is for Austin, I guess that was more for if, that he has lost his vote. I think it would
That
be,
was before though.
yeah, that was before. I do think that is the reason that this advantage was, brought in, though, is that there's so much more people not having their votes for tribals that this is like a way to counteract something like
Yeah,
that. Now, I think it should work for the iOS. I do wonder about shot in the dark though. Would it still like can you use your shot in the dark with that advantage? Because in that way, everyone is now kind of able to use it.
I think it's a bit yes, or like I don't know, because there's one thing. It's one thing to lose your vote. It's another
Yeah.
thing to sacrifice your vote.
Yeah.
So I think it's one of those things where we're just gonna have to either A, see it play out, maybe not even in this season, but maybe next season, because there's always that possibility.
Yeah.
But it's like one of those things where it's like you have to kinda we have to see it in order to know, because it's one of those things where I'm pretty sure the game makers already know, but it's one of those things in the text where it's like because you technically lose your vote when you sacrifice it, but
Mhm.
sacrificing is willingly giving it up to gain something as opposed to like, oh,
Yeah.
I couldn't solve the puzzle, so now I lost my vote.
Yeah. And I've said this quite a bit too. Survivor will often decide the rule based on what is good TV. So if they think it's good TV for you to be able to use it when you sacrifice a vote, I think they'd let it. But if they think that it would make bad TV, they would probably say, no, you have to have lost your vote, not sacrifice it.
Yeah.
So I do think that there's a little bit of an up in the air, even in the producer elements of it, of there, because they know kind of what's going to happen before tribal council even begins. So they can essentially tell the person like right as they're heading out, like, no, you can't do it, or yes, you
Yeah.
can.
Uh, I am excited. And speaking of which, I feel like speaking of Reba and all that, sorry, I play around with things in my hand and then it dropped. Anyway, speaking of the Reba, so like this was a decent episode for them, except for J Maya, which I'm pissed.
Yeah.
She got zero confessionals, but she had a secret scene where she was like leading people through meditation and stuff, and she gave a backstory. I'm like,
Mm.
I get it, why it's not in the episode, but at the same time, we talked about Dee's feet the other day. Like, come on, let's get something
I
a
will
bit more.
say, okay, so me and my friends did laugh at something J Maya did this episode.
She laughed.
Well, yeah, yeah. When Brandon, when the reveal of Brandon being not on the Lulu tribe, so many people were trying to be like shocked and be like, "Oh my gosh!" And she just laughed, and it was like,
Yeah,
"Oh yeah, of course you're sending." Were you watching the challenges? That makes sense.
it's like it's like the only reason it's like I know they didn't like interact a lot, but like I don't know if they filled in the whole thing about you know, Hannah in the beginning,
Uh,
but like it was gonna be like it like really, unless they were playing super badly, who else were they gonna get rid of right then and there?
yeah. Yeah, not if they got rid of Caleb or Sabaya, yeah, have that big reaction. I mean, I expect a big reaction next episode with Sabaya
Yeah.
being gone.
But well, I think well, they didn't know that the tribes were gonna swap or anything, but it kind of
Yeah,
makes it was actually a really good move on their part because now that she is gone, she's eliminated from the pool from the tribe swap
yeah,
because everyone's kind of starting with a clean slate, so no one's getting Sabaya.
yeah.
Um,
Yeah, exactly. And good point also, like, even though we know tribe swap's happening, like we gotta also look at like Emily and Caleb's move, not with that in mind. Like
yeah,
if Emily did vote out Caleb here, she's clearly the next person to go if this tribe would have kept,
yeah,
progressing. Um but now Sean is now would be clearly the number 3 person on that tribe. So it's very good move for her. Caleb literally had to do it. If he
it would have been done so.
he would have been gone if he voted Emily, because it would have then been a 1-1-1 vote split. And then the only person to have votes would have been Sean because
Yeah,
because Samaya can't vote. Emily and Caleb can't vote because they would have been tied, leaving only Sean to cast the only sole vote, which would have been pretty cool if that would have been the case.
yeah,
But yeah, and then he would have obviously just voted Caleb out of the game. Um, so yeah, it definitely was a good move. I think Caleb is actually like a top tier player. Like he's showcasing like the skills that like a returning player shows in terms of like social awareness and being able to outmaneuver his tribe, being able to connect with his tribe also.
yeah.
Yeah.
I will say the only thing is threat equity
Oh yeah, he is a
is
huge
super
threat.
high.
Yeah.
That's I would say what you say very valid, but threat equity is the
Yeah.
one thing because everyone because even like the Reba tribe, even though like they were bonding, another funny moment, it's like one of Jay Maya's songs is Sunday Crossword.
Mhm.
What's a hold on? What's a 10-letter word for someone not getting enough coverage? Purple Edit. And they've been doing that. So far, all we've got, I'm a singer. I like puzzles. And I'm like, she is more deep than that. What the fuck, editors? I even like replied to some of her stories. And I'm like, they're doing you dirty, um, in
Yeah.
this edit.
Yeah, she has by far the lowest amount of confessionals
She
on the
only has
season.
like 3.
She has 2.
Fuck.
She's gotten 1 confessional in the premiere and 1 confessional in episode 2.
She's being Heidi. She's being Lauren.
I think this is even worse than those because they got shown at least a lot in like an episode and then just disappeared.
Yeah, I mean, like they keep cutting to her for like reactions and stuff. She had a secret scene.
Yeah, but secret
I
scenes
don't know.
are it's tough. Whenever you see a secret scene, it's not great for those players, in my opinion.
No, no.
If someone's a great big character, yeah, maybe they'll have an extra secret scene or two because there's just so much stuff that they're already showing of that player that it's like, okay, this is the worst of the great stuff that they're giving us. Let's just show it anyways. But if you're not getting shown on TV and you get a secret scene, not great, not great.
I just need her to survive 4 more eliminations.
Man, I'm just saying, I think I think you should have picked Austin as your first pick and Jay as second.
Listen, I agree, but at the same time, my heart was saying, "Let's do it, Ryan."
uh
Hey, I will live with the repercussions. I've
yeah,
made my peace with it
yeah,
because I know she's been screwed over by the editing, and I'm like, that's not always a good sign. And I'm like, I've made peace with
yeah.
that. Anywho, uh, but we kind of go back to Reba. It was a very strong episode for them because at
Uh-huh.
first it started out with total mistrust because they were trying to
Yeah.
find the next clue to where the idol is and stuff like that. And then it looked like, oh, okay, things might not be going too hot for them. Austin and Drew were trying to throw Sifu under the bus. But then, we saw throughout the episode with Drew getting the advantage and with them looking for the idol together, and then also like Dee and Julie being like, hey, let's actually tell them about the hammer and do that because
Yeah.
I mean, they had the thing where they were like, oh, let's hide it and stuff. They were taking steps to like not tell them, but then they ultimately are like, no, trust. And they told them and then Drew told the 4 Rebas about the a lot or the advantage of the vote restoration.
Hmm.
So like I don't know. I'd say there is a possibility that there could be a very strong 4. Now,
Yeah.
this could all be screwed up because of the tribe swap and whatever, but
Yeah. Yeah.
I don't know. I think it was a great moment for those 4.
Yeah, it's interesting because I'm not sure if this is necessarily is going to bring them together. I feel like this is showing that they are working together, but there's cracks. And I think
Yeah.
that when we come to the merge, I do think that Drew and Austin will be willing to work with other people in and not just with them. And like I don't necessarily see this as like a core 4 who's going to run the game. I see this
Maybe.
as a some people who are going to work to get themselves a little further in the game, and then they're just going to see where the chips lie.
I think maybe it could be the beginning of something really tight.
Mhm,
I could see it going either way, TBH, especially with your viewpoints.
mhm.
But I think it's also a thing like because we're getting so much cover of it, that's a tricky thing. Because like with the more screen time it's getting, we're thinking, oh, this alliance is very important, especially when we're talking about the Bello alliance where it's guys versus gals and
Mhm.
like we get like a confessional or 2 about that per episode, mostly by like Katura being like, yeah, Bruce annoys me, but everyone loves Bruce. We need to get rid of the guys when
Yeah.
we get that opportunity.
Yeah, which
um
I'm worried for Katura actually a little bit because I think she could have made the move pre-merge in this configuration, I do worry for her if we get to a mergatory or the first merge and she's gunning for Bruce, that I think a lot of people might like Bruce and end up siding with him over her, causing her to be kind of taken out, prematurely. Because I think she's a great person, great player.
Oh
But
yeah.
the fact that she's just like laser focused right now on Bruce could be a downfall.
Well, especially because there's two things to bring up here. One thing we brought up was Jake and Kendra starting to bond a little bit.
Uh,
Like, them getting to know each other a bit
yeah,
more.
they're going to
And
get
then
drinks
like,
after this.
yeah, exactly. And so like, now it's like, okay, well, Jake may, because of that more personal connection, won't be the media target. So like, and Brando might be on their side. So maybe they don't want to cut that branch too soon. So like by process of elimination, like Bruce would have been the thing. But now with everything kind of switching up, also there was like a little mine. It's like I don't want to say blink if you miss it, but it was like 5 seconds where Bruce was during the challenge, like maybe even like they're like, oh, we got to do this, we got to do this, and then someone was like, man, Bruce is being like kind of annoying.
Yeah,
Uh,
this was a bad episode in my opinion for Bruce. He got
yeah,
0 confessionals, but like there is so much negative content against Bruce this episode that um I know he's part of the math chat theory, but I definitely don't think he's winning after this episode.
no, 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 no. I don't know. Like, yeah, I don't know. Like, I think because I think it was also a thing of like misdirection because like Jam Jam and Carolyn were both like leading the confessionals last season. So maybe it was like overcompensation, or I wouldn't say overcompensation, but more so, you know, subverting expectations this time around. So like maybe a high confessional count could be bad for you. Or
Mhm.
like could be a bad sign because it's like now with like Katora, they're I don't think a leading person ever really got eliminated this early on in confessional count. Or
Yeah.
I could be wrong. We could look at the stats,
Yeah,
but
I think it's happened, but,
it's rare.
yeah, I think sometimes, like, a premier boots will have, like,
Yeah.
also, like, a lot of confessionals if they're a great character,
Yeah.
but yeah, it's definitely it feels like we're losing. I feel like with Brandon and Sabaya gone, those I think were 2 big entertainment, factors of the season, so definitely gonna be interesting, to see, how it continues from here, and, if we're gonna lose, some other big personalities, like if we lose to, like, a Drew next or a Caleb or an Emily.
And more serene time for J Maya.
J
Uh
Maya.
But I feel like, with this tribe swap coming up, more than anything in pre-merge, the most important thing, and it's something you can't even control really, is tribe chemistry.
Yeah.
And it's like one of those things where, especially if it's being mixed up, how did tribe chemistry from the last tribe affect this one? Or if you find someone new that you vibe with really well, it's like, oh, maybe I should go with them. Or like Jake, if this is the one where we see him without a buff, and then he's like, oh, mix things up. I might betray my original tribe, things like that. Uh, it's one of those things where, and we've seen it all the time in Survivor, in our brand seals,
Mhm.
it really switches up the game. That's why Survivor, it was a staple for like
Yeah.
pretty much all of mid school and new school. Well, not even that. Like it was something that was introduced in like season 3
Yeah.
and they kind of just kept doing. And I'd say very seldom, once in a blue moon, they would have seasons where the tribes didn't swap.
Yeah. Well, and it's just good because it kind of makes it where everyone has to work with everyone to a
Yeah.
degree. Whereas before, I mean, yeah, it's very tribe colors. Like it's very much like even when in the modern day seasons, they get there and they're like, these are our tribe colors. But there's been like a little more like we'll sacrifice this person if you then sacrifice the person next time, and then you sacrifice the person next
Yeah.
time. And there's like that's been like a strategy that the modern school has, because they're trying it's like the way for players to try to navigate it is almost using players as poker chips, but still very much being
Yeah.
being the three tribes going against each other.
So what we can, yeah, I mean, like, because at the end of the day, people have to eliminate, and then it's like, who's in your core alliance, who's like just on the outskirts where it's like, okay, I can still kind of move forward without them, things like that. It's like, and I mean, obviously, when it comes to, and this is just a thing about life, or like any living thing, familiarity, even if it's bad, provides comfort.
Mhm.
And especially when you're out here with a bunch of strangers in a very fast-paced, stressful game where you're deprived and stuff, sometimes it can create a bit of a Stockholm syndrome. And it's like, no, like, like I have to stick with this group because we've been trauma bond,
Yeah.
and stuff like that. And because like, and especially if the tribe chemistry was good or anything, they kind of like stick close together because it's like, oh, like we're a strong team in pre-merge. So we should probably stick together this time and keep the team together because we're so strong as a unit,
Yeah.
even though the gameplay is much different in, obviously when it comes to Mergatory and Merge, because it's like now you're playing as an individual and alliances function differently as a
Yeah.
result.
Yeah, definitely, definitely. Yeah, so I'm really excited for the stripe swap. I've wanted it for the last 4 seasons. I just don't know why they decided not to do it. I think I mean it's fine to do it like every now and then. No tribe
Yeah.
swap. I think that's an interesting kind of like way, but you definitely should not have been continuing as long as it did. I know we kind of got a tribe swap in
Yeah.
44, but that I don't count that.
It
That
was more of
was
a shuffle. Or I wouldn't say
yeah.
that. It was like more like, all right, through one person from each tribe
I think
moves.
they wanted just to get idol plays being used, and that was
Yeah.
their way of of giving people idols, and then knowing that they're going to clearly be the target, so play the idol on yourself.
Yeah. Yeah.
um
That could
so
be.
So yeah, but now we're getting a legit tribe swap, and I'm excited. I think it's gonna be fun. I hope Emily and Caleb stay together. I think I am worried for Emily if she is not with Caleb, because she does have the like I think right now he is such a like ally to her that is like
Yeah.
if she isn't with him, like people will definitely be wanting to gun for her, especially if she's on a tribe with Bruce.
Because, it's that opening mat thing that she did. And it's
Yeah,
like, this is why you think before you act. And like, well, granted, she has learned her lesson and she's improved. Not everyone else on the other tribes know that, especially
yeah,
because no one on the Lulu bench or Lulu team has been sitting out of the challenges. So, you know, they don't have time to do the bench talk.
yeah.
Or also, Emily hasn't been for the past couple things where it's like, oh, send one person. Well, actually, there's only been one. Like, she wasn't chosen for that.
Mhm.
They flat out was like, no, Emily, you are not doing this. But yeah,
Yeah. Yeah, so yeah, that's gonna be interesting to see what comes of the tribe swap. It's hard to predict what's gonna happen next episode just because we don't know the tribes really, or like all of the dynamics of what's
we
gonna
got a
happen.
few things. Yeah, it's really the dynamics. We can
Yeah.
theorize,
Yeah,
but
we know like where a couple people are going based off of the preview and everything,
yeah,
but yeah, it's definitely going to be interesting. So I'm excited. Um
so
yeah, let's see. Was there anything else we wanted to talk about for this episode?
no, we kind of covered everything. Lulu, I will say it went from last episode where Jeff was just like roasting Lulu, and
Uh,
then like the challenge itself where they were actually in it and it looked promising, and the fact that they won a challenge earlier,
yeah,
and then like they lost composure, and
yeah,
then they were just like it was got and then sad music played, and it was just kind of like you just saw the defeat on everyone's face, and it was like, oh man, this is actually pretty sad.
yeah.
Like,
Oh yeah, that is a good point. Yeah, that music that came in, more reason why I think Emily's winning this game.
yeah,
The because we weren't focusing on Lulu, we were focusing on Emily.
yeah,
Emily was the face of the defeats, and clearly they didn't care about everyone else who was losing in that situation. It was just about how sad it was for Emily.
yeah. She was just like, we're still in it, we're still in it, and it's
Yeah,
like sometimes you know that it's GG's, but you don't want to give up. Um,
yeah. Yeah,
yeah,
I'm curious because I know the caller is supposed to like help with the puzzle and stuff, but it just felt like they were kind of it felt like the people who were making the puzzle were doing it themselves, like just figuring out on Lulu. And like she kind of was trying to help, and they're like, no, let's do it like this. Why
well,
why why are they not just letting Emily just get down there and do the puzzle? Like I
also
just
I feel like for that puzzle specifically, the collar is kind of a bad design because of
yeah,
this reason.
yeah,
You can't see all the sides of it. And it's
yeah,
different when you're doing like one of the puzzles where it's like a two-sided one where oh, like if you have to like do the spiral one, or like where it's like the dragon and then it's like that little like circle or
yeah,
something like that.
yeah,
But it's totally different when it's a cube and like all the sides have to match and everyone's kind of working on it already.
yeah,
Or like,
exactly. Yeah, they,
yeah,
they they should have put Caleb or Sabaya on the caller position. Let Emily kind of honestly lead the puzzle because
yeah.
yeah, I agree. I don't think they needed a caller. I think it was kind of pointless to have a caller. I know that
Or
you get
like
to see a little bit up top, but like
there's like at least two sides of the key puzzle you cannot see.
yeah.
Like last season with the sliding puzzle, I believe there was a collar and stuff. And so you were kind of able to be like, okay, that makes sense.
Yeah. Well, it
Be
makes sense also when you have like blindfolded. That's usually when we see
exactly.
the caller is when people can't see, or it's such a weird angle that only a high level, like you have to be super high up
Precisely.
to know. And that just wasn't the case this time. It just felt like honestly, when I was first watching it, I almost just forgot about the callers. I was like thinking that it was just like, why is Emily not down there doing the puzzle?
Yeah,
Because it was just pointless to have callers.
exactly. But other than that, I think we covered everything.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah, so I
Jake
guess
Little
we
thing,
can I guess
yeah,
we can do confessional counts before MVPs and LVPs. Um so yeah, Sabaya did have the most confessionals so far, going out here with 23.
that's pretty
Um
solid,
that's a
especially for a pre-merge boot.
yeah, for a
That's not a
third
returning
boots.
player or anything.
Yeah, people are already calling her for second chances. Like they want her
Agreed.
they want
Agreed.
her here.
Agreed.
Um, okay. And then we got Emily and Caleb are both tied at 18 confessionals. Caleb had a huge 11 confessionals this episode.
It was a big episode for him.
Yeah, he was actually kind of quiet in the previous two episodes, believe it or not, even though he was a huge presence. He only had 7 confessionals before.
Yeah.
So huge breakout episode for him. Then we got Drew at 17. So he's trailing just a little bit behind. Um, then we got Austin at 12, and D at 11. Um, and then it looks like we got Kendra at 9 confessional. So she's leading the Bello tribe. Uh, and then we got Jake at 8 confessionals. And then we got a bit of a tie here at 7 between Katura, Kelly, and Sean.
Okay.
And then we got some ties here for 6 with Julie, Bruce, and it looks like it's just those two. And then Brando has 5 confessionals. Sifu has 4 confessionals, and J Maya has 2 confessionals.
Justice for J Maya.
If she gets another goose egg, I mean, yikes.
My God. I'm like,
They've been doing so good at editing so many people this season too,
and then it's like
except for her.
it feels. I think your theory of like maybe the songwriter and it's like, come on, just
Yeah,
why?
yeah,
I feel like the secret scene was something that Modern Survivor would definitely put in there because, it's talking about someone's culture. It's giving someone,
yeah,
it's like, it's a strong tribe bonding together. Like it
yeah,
hits a lot of great marks. And then it's like, that
yeah,
doesn't end up.
yeah, yeah. Maybe if she makes final 3, that would be. And I just, it doesn't seem like that's happening for her. It seems like it does not bode well for her. And I honestly, and I know you're gonna hate me saying this, but in theory, because of her positioning, a tribe swap should be great. I think a
Yeah.
tribe swap is terrible for her, like as her own player, because she is a strategic player that is not very good in challenge, like physically strong in challenges. Like specifically saying like she's not going to be dragging crates up, like a wall or something like that. So
I
I do think that in a lot of tribe compositions, she is also going to be on the bottom 2 of that
I
tribe.
can test that for a reason.
Okay, go for it.
One, you need a puzzle solver for these challenges.
Yeah,
And if she ends up on a tribe where, but because like she won't be on the same tribe as Drew potentially, she might not. And she's been on the puzzles, and like usually Reba has. I think they've come in first in most of the challenges, except for maybe one. And
yeah,
the win condition of the puzzle is more important than. Well, I mean, like, don't get me wrong, fundamentally how these challenges work, you're buying time till you get to the end where you can solve the puzzle. Or there's 2 phases. There's a physical obstacle course where you have to move stuff or get people through a certain thing. And then there's the puzzle making. The puzzle making being a very crucial role because the win condition is solving the puzzle. Everything you do prior to that is giving you an advantage or disadvantage on how much time you have to solve the puzzle compared to everyone else.
yeah,
So I will say that maybe because she may not have strong ties with Reba and maybe not be aware of it, that it might hurt her game if it's a very Reba heavy thing or something like that. But it's very playable. I mean, we
yeah.
don't
I
know.
think, yeah. I mean, I think just in general, every other tribe will look at her as more of a strategic player, also. And tribe swaps are usually when those kind of players go home. It is when you take out the people who you're afraid of running the game strategically at the merge. Um,
We'll
uh,
see. I
so
think you're partly doing that to like
no,
twist the
I
knife a
I no,
little.
I 100% would have said this regardless of your connection to J
Feelings.
Maya. Yeah, your feelings to J Maya, because hey, listen, I know you like her, but we have a job here to do. Okay, we have to say what we really truly believe in this game, and I'm not gonna
I
I'm not
don't
gonna
think she
hold
is
back.
doomed.
I'm
I
not
I
gonna
am
hold
saying
back.
I am saying it does not look great for her. I
Yeah.
will admit that. And I've accepted the fate that I might be the first one out of the 2 of us to get someone that was officially eliminated. I got a little bit of a get out of jail free card with Tyson in Winners
Yeah.
at War. But
Yeah.
like I will, like I understand. I've already made peace if it does happen. However, I don't think she is that doomed, as you were saying. I
I'm
feel
not
like
saying that, dude. I'm just saying it's not great. It's in the realm of I'd say it's more likely than not.
I'd say it's 50-50.
I'm saying 70-30.
Compromise 60-40.
65-35.
I'm still sticking with 50-50. We just have our
Okay.
opinions. But all
Okay,
right, let's
sounds
go
good.
to
Yeah,
MVP, LVP.
MVPs, LVPs. So MVP for me, yet again, I'm going to give it to Emily because she 100% was the middle person here and
Yeah.
decided the votes.
I mean, that's solid choice because, like, we gave a lot of credit to Caleb this episode. However,
Yeah,
if it wasn't for, Emily be like, hey, legit, if you vote for me, you will go home. And that's not me threatening you. That is like Sabaya is being like, like she's overconfident right now. We gotta take her out now because she also didn't tell me about the idols. So like, yeah,
yeah.
uh, so I think that's a pretty strong choice. I'm gonna say for this one, Drew.
Drew,
Uh,
interesting.
one
I thought
because
he didn't have a great episode.
I will say one, he has a four alliance that looks pretty good right now. Also, I want to give, the shout outs to other people. Also, he got that advantage from Caleb. So he has like at least one tie somewhere else. Whereas, it could be a blessing and curse. I'll say it's a blessing right now. So I will say that trying to spread the love a little bit, but because like he has some good potential stuff, and also to spread the love of MVP, I'll give it to him.
Yeah, I don't think we should try spreading the love if it, I don't think it's fully
I
100%
think it.
deserved.
I think it's partially deserved. Also, he's on a winning team.
Yeah.
Like, come on.
Well, I will say I think he handled getting caught terribly. Like
Yeah,
one of the like just worst. Like he
he was.
he gets called out and then he just starts walking the other way. And then he makes up the lie about Sifu. Like I know he's trying to cover up for Austin, but it's just clearly not a good look
Listen, I
for
gave
his two alliance
LVP to
members.
D just because of the foot thing.
Yeah.
So, like, not all my decisions will be too sound of mind. Even though this one has a lot more merit than the giving D LVP.
I feel like Drew was a good choice last week. Like I think he would have been a choice. Like I would have been like, yeah, that makes sense. Um, not sure about this one though, but you're allowed your opinions.
Yes, that's why they're called opinions. I'm
Yeah,
not stating it as fact. I
definitely.
understand, but yeah, LVP is a little tricky for me. I think it's tough.
Yeah.
Because
We're getting so much Lulu coverage, and I think they're explaining why the person goes home very well on
yeah,
Lulu. And then I'm not really sure what the other two tribes are in terms of like it seems like there's clearly groups against each other, but I don't necessarily think I'm getting too much LVP from those other groups.
I'd say by default would maybe be Sabia because like,
Yeah,
and I hate saying that, but it's also like because of how I don't want to say overconfident and how much she was talking about the idol and stuff, but it did feel like almost hamming it up.
yeah,
Well, for the camera, which is a thing, but it just felt like she put so much attention on it, and then like because she didn't tell and because Emily found out about the whole idol thing and all that pretty like later than everyone else,
mhm,
that like there was a potential thing where, oh, maybe she doesn't go with Caleb if she was in the loop about the idol.
yeah,
And so, it's one of those things where it's not like a deserved LVP, but in the
yeah,
sense of like because no one else did something so horrendously bad, and it was just
yeah,
more like luck of the draw, and I would say just how the chips lied, and then not using the idol
yeah,
unbeknownst to her, or like it's one of those things where she made like a bad move that cost her the game, and so
yeah.
by default of everything, LVP.
Yeah, I have to agree, which I don't like because I'm now saying the person who got voted out in the last three episodes have been the LVP,
Yeah,
which
I
I
don't like it
typically
either, but
I don't
I
like
don't have
doing
that
that, but
choice.
yeah, I just feel like the people who have been going out on this Lulu tribe have deservedly gotten the LVP of that week.
Not to be I feel like it wasn't even bad gameplay. It was just more like a misread on the situation, which
Yeah.
isn't necessarily bad. It's just
She
like,
thought she was controlling the game, and when in reality, it, it was not her controlling the game.
yeah. Um, so I just kind of have to give it to her because there's really no one else.
Yeah, yeah, agreed. Um, okay, well, that does it here for this episode. Great season so far. Definitely the
I'm loving
best
it.
new era season. Like, I think by a country mile, I think it is just significantly better than
I'm looking forward to it. No, even if J Maya goes out next episode, like I'm
yeah,
gonna be a little disappointed. But I think even if that happens, I'm really enjoying this season. I think we
yeah,
have a great ensemble of people, even the people we've lost so far.
yeah,
And I feel like the balances that they have made, and when you were saying, "Oh, this is like a season you've introduced to people," I think that's always a great thing to say about a season because, like,
yeah,
hey, you can watch this and not know Survivor, but like sometimes that's good content, especially in day and age where so many things are connected and convoluted. It's
yeah,
like nice to be like, oh, you don't need to know too much going into this to watch this thing.
yeah.
Um, yeah,
Yeah, exactly. It feels like it feels like I'm back watching Survivor in like the old school days. Not necessarily like the super old school days, but like, maybe like the mid late
the
20s.
tens,
Yeah,
the
or the
tens, yeah,
10s. Yeah.
the teens and the 20s, yeah.
Yeah, it feels like I'm watching that era of Survivor right now, which
Agreed.
I love that era of Survivor. That's like some of the best Survivor that we got, honestly, in my opinion. So, um,
Yeah,
so I'm excited. I'm here for it. I can't wait till we get to the auction. Also, that's gonna be fun.
that's gonna be if
Like
I
with this cast, like now knowing this cast, man, that auction, I am like so much more excited for.
be cool. Yeah. Yeah, we got a lot of Survivor coming up. So yeah, stay tuned for next week. We're gonna be, covering it. We're gonna be having a blast. Yeah, let us know what your thoughts of the episode was, and yeah, we'll see you in the next one.
Yep. Adios.
Peace.